Alright, so let's start off with King Robert Baratheon. He was first to his name, killed in a boar hunt, and was replaced by his son, Joffrey Baratheon. Then you have Ned Stark. Lord of Winterfell and Hand of the King is accused of plotting against the king, and is sentenced to confess his crimes in King's Landing. But after confessing his crimes in King's Landing, King Joffrey orders Ned Stark to be immediately beheaded. This act marked the start of the civil war known as the War of the Five Kings. Robb Stark is declared king in the north and is joined by House Tully. Both Stannis and Renly Baratheon declare themselves as the true kings of the Seven Kingdoms. Stannis controls the islands of Blackwater Bay, and Renly is joined by House Tyrell through marriage, and is also supported by the Lords of the Stormlands. In the Westerlands, Robb Stark and the marriage alliance with House Frey begin to invade Lannister territory. Stannis and Renly Baratheon have a face-off in the Stormlands, with Stannis being heavily outnumbered. But before the battle even began, Renly was assassinated by Brienne of Tarth, Renly's King's Guard. Instead of fighting, the Lords of the Stormlands joined forces with Stannis, and the Tyrell withdraw from the fight. While Robb Stark's army fights in the south, House Greyjoy moves to the north, and takes over Winterfell under Theon Greyjoy's command. Stannis then begins to mass a fleet and carries out a direct assault on Blackwater Bay in King's Landing. And although outnumbered, Stannis' army is crushed by Tywin Lannister's reinforcements, making Tywin Lannister the new Hand of the King, replacing Tyrion Lannister. Meanwhile, in the western part of the Riverlands, Robb Stark marries Talisa Magur and withdraws from the Westerlands and into Riverrun, his base of operations. Robb Stark creates a plan to take over Casterly Rock, but in order to do so, Edmure Tully marries Rosalind Frey, Walder Frey's daughter, to create another marriage alliance that Robb had broke. So the wedding took place in the Crossing, also known as the Twins, where the Starks were deceived and slaughtered by the Freys, destroying what was left of the Northern army, killing both Robb and Catelyn Stark.
The Lannisters send their regards.
Oh yeah, and Roose Bolton declares war upon the Starks. Now this marked the Red Wedding. Although the Blackfish survived, more on him later. Lord Tywin Lannister announces that House Bolton would be the new rulers of the North, replacing House Stark. While this happens, word has spread that the Targaryen Queen now marches an army of 8,000 unsullied soldiers and 30 dragons. And while in the north, the wildlings plan their assault onto the wall. Alright, Tyrion Lannister is arrested for being accused of poisoning King Joffrey Baratheon at his own wedding. Sansa Stark escapes King's Landing while Joffrey's brother, Tommen, is anointed as the new king. House Bolton and House Lannister strengthen their rule over the north, while House Greyjoy fights back from Lannister control. But back in Vale, Peter Baelish, aka Littlefinger, marries Lissa Tully, who right after is killed, making Littlefinger the new ruler of Vale, joined by a little girl named Elena. Well, I wouldn't say little, but by a 14-year-old girl named Elena, who you probably know who that is. But back to the Lannisters, although victorious over most of their battles, they received more financial issues due to the money spent during the wars fought. Tyrion is found missing while Tywin was found dead, presumably by his own son, crowning Cersei the new ruler of House Lannister. And in the north, Castle Black is under siege by wildlings, but is stopped by cavalry led by Stannis Baratheon, forcing the wildlings to surrender and be captured. So, King Tommen is then married to Margaery Tyrell, which secured the food and the money the House Lannister really needed. Soon the sparrows arrived in King's Landing and won influence over the young King Tommen, arresting both Loras Tyrell and Cersei Lannister for the accusations of incest and being a homosexual. Cersei is then put on trial but does not attend this trial. Instead, she watches as the church was destroyed by wildfire, killing Loras Tyrell, her brother, and the sparrows. Although Tommen was not in the church, he had committed suicide. House Tyrell is soon to be extinct, House Baratheon is now dead, and King's Landing has no king. Lord Bolton takes over Winterfell from Theon Greyjoy, and then takes Moat Cailin. Littlefinger then marries off Sansa Stark, aka Elena, to Ramsay Bolton, giving Littlefinger permission by Lancers to ride Vale's army into the north. Back at the Wall, Jon Snow is elected as the new Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, and Stannis leaves the Wall, marching his remaining forces for Winterfell, and, dying. While Jon, the new Lord Commander, sails his fleet of ships to Hardhome, where it said the remaining wildlings stay. But only 5,000 wildlings were retrieved, and the rest were killed off by White Walkers. Yeah, it's pretty sad. Jon's forces and half the wildlings then marched on to assault House Bolton, who is also having a little bit of trouble, with Ramsay killing both his father, mother, and brother. He's pretty cruel. Brienne Tully, aka Blackfist, leads the remaining forces of House Tully in an assault on Riverrun, ruled by the Freys. While this happens, House Blackwood and House Mollister begin to rebel against Frey rule. The Frey army begins to lay siege onto Riverrun, but is too weak and is later assisted by Jaime Lannister, who is sent to help siege the castle. This is when Edmure Tully, Jaime's prisoner and Lord of Riverrun, surrenders the castle to the Lannisters.
Command all the forces within the castle to lay down their arms. Open the gates.
My lord.
Your lord has given a command.
The Blackfish then dies fighting. Jon Snow lays siege upon Winterfell, and when all was lost, Lord Baelish counterattacked Ramsay's army. And with the help of a giant, Jon Snow took back Winterfell, with Lord Bolton being killed by his own hounds. House Bolton is now extinct. Euron Greyjoy returns to the Iron Islands and murders his own brother Balon Greyjoy. He is then announced the new king of the Iron Islands. Ellaria Sand and the Sand Snakes kill Prince Doran Martell and his son Tristan Martell, and seize power in Dorne, forming an alliance with the Tyrell. House Martell is now extinct, and Arya Stark kills Walder Frey while also baking his sons in a pie, pretty much killing House Frey.
The last thing you're ever going to see is a Stark smiling down at you as you die.
But that's where Season 6 ends. Hopefully you guys learned a thing or two about the Battle of the Five Kings. It's mostly just a recap though. Please check the description for sources, and don't forget to like and subscribe. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed, and until next time, have a good one.